Hello, good morning, everyone. I am delighted to see you all here for this press conference of this exhibition, Perpetuum Mobile. I never prepare press conferences, and then so I'll try doing my best explaining the story behind this exhibition. We were very excited about organizing this event for Enric with Joan Roig, with the support of the Catalan regional government. We pushed ahead with this idea. And I think Joan Roig gave us very valuable insight as to the pieces of furniture that Enric liked so much. Usually these pieces of furniture were a part of our home, a very intimate part of his life, which were part of our home. We thought our home wasn't something that people would want to see. It was very much of the personal sphere. And Enric took great pleasure in doing things that we could qualify as very daring. He would say, and what if we do something like this and like that? And he was an incredibly creative person with a gifted hand at drawing. And that is why at home we ended up with many pieces of furniture. At the beginning, when we built the house, it was empty, and then we gradually filled it with these different items as part of our life, and saying this could go here, this could go that. And it was such an intimate part of our lives that we didn't even keep the sketches of or the plans of these pieces of furniture. We did have in our studio, we had elements relating to this furniture, but we'd never really thought that we would take these pieces of furniture out of our homes. So thanks to the partners of this exhibition, thanks to the Design Hub, which is a center that can showcase this part of our life, which, as I said, we never conceived as to be exhibited. And I could explain that the furniture could be defined as sculptures, really. And when Enric designed his furniture, he always said, well, it could be done this way or it could be that way. We could put this piece of furniture here or there. And that is why we gave this exhibition the name Perpetuum Mobile, which was an idea of Joan Roig. And it's very beautiful because it explains this idea of a piece of furniture as something that can move from mobile. So we started off with this idea, and then our question was, okay, but where are we going to take these unique pieces of furniture to a museum? But if I take them to a museum, my house will be left empty. And our home furniture, home furniture is part of your life. They're one of those things that are very difficult to move out of your home. But luckily, we the American Hardwood Council came into the scene, and they promote the use of American wood for the production of furniture. And it's beautiful because in some of the Enric's drawings, it says this furniture should be made with American wood. I remember this was 1992 because American wood was the wood Enric Miralles wanted to use. And now American wood workers and say, well, if we want to rebuild these furnitures, we can reproduce the pieces. And some people produce these pieces of furniture with American wood or with new types of wood. Wood is always changing and different. And I think what you will find here in this exhibition is like meeting something that is very personal, very intimate of your private sphere. And Miralles shows his genius and the very fun pieces of furniture. So, and you'll see that the layout is very informal, just as we'd have at home. So we thought that our home had to accompany these pieces of furniture. So in the exhibition, with the sellotape that architects usually use on the floor, we have reproduced the plans of the house so that you can see the layout of the original pieces. And it's a very beautiful story to how this wood has been, these pieces of furniture have been produced with this American wood. And there is another story, and that is that by researching into these drawings, which we'd never stored in an archive, it was in a notebook, in a cupboard somewhere, looking and bringing together all these drawings, I took a picture of a drawing which Enric had in his study, and then they said, "You've sent me a drawing of a table," and then I looked at it carefully, and it was a table that I never knew that Enric had designed. I think he designed this table in 1999, roughly, and then I saw the first draft of this idea, and it's a beautiful table. So we're in this process, and I asked American Hardwood to build this table, and it's really incredible because they found solutions to many of the things that I'm sure Enrique hadn't even found a solution for. It's a beautiful table because it's exactly the same size when it's folded away, but then when you open it up, it's around 4 meters long. You could have 18 or 20 people sitting around it. And it's the number of people that we would usually gather in our home on special occasions like Christmas lunches and things. So this table is like a very personal drawing table, but then you can expand it into a dining room table. So all of these things are what you will find in this exhibition. This exhibition was possible thanks to the help and aid of the Catalan institutions. I haven't the list of acknowledgements with me, but we wanted to give a collective acknowledgement to all those who have participated in this event. So I'll give the floor to Joan Roig, who is walking along this walk together with me. Thank you very much. I think that out of all of the exhibitions we've had, the exhibition in Santa Monica and this one are the most special ones, because in the case of collage, it was quite self-evident, because it was a beautiful composition. And here we see all of the handcrafted woodwork and the mechanisms that make all of these pieces of furniture fit together. When we thought about this exhibition, we insisted on having an exhibition on furniture so that we could see. Then we had a discussion, and I remember that discussion when we were deciding to showcase the pieces of furniture she had at home, or we built replicas. And I was focusing more on the more nostalgic part of looking at Enric Miralles' works. And doing this exhibition gave me the possibility of understanding the that in his work producing something personal was also projecting into the future. So these were prototypes of furniture that projected into the future. And furniture is usually, the world of furniture is strongly dominated by large scale, cheap furniture production. But these pieces of furniture are handcrafted and are beautiful. And through this exhibition, we want to make people understand that these pieces of furniture have had a lot of work going into them to produce them. Also, Enric wanted light furniture, and he wanted to be able to move his pieces of furniture around. So, so he wanted an easy way of creating furniture, drawing inspiration from furniture from around Europe. And I just want to reiterate that it was thanks to that discussion that we came up with this exhibition. We have 18 prototypes, and we have to go back a long time in time to find an exhibition where you can find 18 prototypes of the same artist. This is quite a notorious event. I think this situation, this exhibition, allows us to travel through the years, looking at furniture that projects into the future. And as I said, furniture nowadays is produced by in large amounts with cheap materials that are lightweight, but we can also have lightweight quality products. Thank you. I You just make it sound so easy to set up this exhibition. Thank you. Thanks. So, be leaving aside a detail that Benedetta made on the importance of the fact that furniture are handcrafted, I think it makes it different to the relationship between the creator and the public, because production is always a matter of interpretation. And as you said, Enric projected his furniture into the future. I'd like to take these moments to repeat something that we always say in the exhibition. When Benedetta came to see us some months ago and said she had an idea to have a set of exhibitions on Enric Miralles, we realized that this was a great opportunity and that it was meritocracy for Enric Miralles. We are talking of an exhibition that has three different dimensions. On the one hand, It's the work of Enric Miralles, who as a creator and a designer, an architect who is outstanding. And he is the paradigm of the best times of architecture in our country. But there's a second aspect which I think is equally important. That is his legacy. It's a huge legacy he left behind. It could fill volumes and volumes of an encyclopedia. There's furniture, plans, lamps. So we're talking of someone who has an almost Gaudí-like dimension. Is very generous during, obviously separated by a period of time. But there's a third dimension which is just as important, which I thought was equally necessary. That was to place architecture at the center of the city as a defining element of a city, in fact, but also as a creative industry that can generate new thoughts due to its very nature. There's lighting and many aspects which are related to the cultural construct of a city and the discourse around urban spaces, which helps us explain the city. So this personality who has been of extreme importance in the city and which isn't going through its best time in history, talking of architecture, I think we had to make space and give a central stage to Enric Miralles. And as they came to us with this idea of having a set of exhibitions to pay homage to Enric Miralles, I think there were five exhibitions with very different perspectives, which allow us to see all of the different dimensions to architecture. And I think this is very important. So these are the three spheres in this homage to the person, his legacy, and the importance of architecture in urban planning. I think it's important to do so where we know that we are opening up new spaces of discussion and debate in the city. And we want to hear these discussions. So, I mean, the voice of Miralles has always been there, but we had to give him a central place. So this exhibition is wonderful. It reminded me of something that's very important and necessary, and I think it would be very good if we could remember this. And there's a challenge to all of us. The unique aspect of this exhibition is that it's a beautiful exhibition, and there's something about it which I think is extraordinary, and that is that they are original pieces of furniture, some of which had been built, others hadn't. And this gives this exhibition a very innovative fact, because usually exhibitions bring together pieces that had been already made. And there are some people who have been able to reproduce and build these pieces of furniture. So we hope this set of furniture that you can see in these three dimensions I mentioned give us a great opportunity. Thank you. Thank you so much. For us, it's a great honor being here in this exhibition, especially with Benedetta Tagliabue, who's been working with us for such a long time, and to the company that's donated the wood to build. But we're here to provoke a conversation around the use of wood and the environmental impacts of wood. For us, the most important for all of us here in this world, if we want to achieve our goal of reducing CO2 in the environment, we have to think about the materials we use. Many people think that trees shouldn't be felled, that cutting down trees is always bad. But science tells us exactly the opposite. Wood is not just recyclable. There are many things that can be recycled, and wood is one of them. Wood is renewable, but the most important feature of wood that is unique to wood is that it can store carbon, in the sense that half of the weight of a dry log is carbon, and this carbon remains in the wood unless you burn it or allow it to rot. So if we use wood, all of that carbon is sequestered in the wood and isn't freed into the environment. And science calls for life cycle analysis. Talking about life cycle analysis, wood is a predominant state. Of the pieces you'll see in the exhibition, which are built of solid wood, those pieces are carbon negative in terms of emission. There's more carbon sequestered in the wood than the emissions that were generated to fell the tree, cut the wood, dry it, packaging it, sending it to the US, sending it by boat to Vigo, and then from Vigo to Navarra by lorry, cutting the pieces and the polishings and the finishing touches, sending the final parts here to Barcelona. Even with all of those steps, those 7 pieces are still have a negative carbon footprint, and you can't do this with any other material. So if we want to reach our goal of reducing CO2 emissions, wood must be an important thing. The problem is that we only see these benefits if wood is sustainably sourced. There are many places, unfortunately, in the world where wood isn't sustainably sourced. But even in those cases, when we see the deforestation going on in countries like Brazil and Indonesia, it has nothing to do with the use of wood. They're cutting and felling, destroying woods to make room for other crops such as soy and palm trees. So when we change the land use, that is when there are problems of deforestation. If we use wood, forest wood, it's an economic activity. It has a value as forest. And if it doesn't have a value as forest, that is where they will get rid of the forest to grow palm or palm oil or soy to get. So in the US, we have more than double the amount of trees in our forests than 50 years ago, more than double the amount of trees. And the use ratio of what we cut or is 2.4 to 1. So 2.4 trees were cut down for every tree that was there. And we can say that we're not cutting enough trees right now. If we let the trees die, 4 things happen. First, when the dead tree falls, it rots and liberates all of this CO2 back into the environment. Second, these dead trees are the ones fueling wildfire in the forests. Thirdly, this is lost money for the local community. If you monetize it, you can then finance high schools and buildings. And last but not least, these dead trees lying on the ground can also harbor invasive insects. So very often I'm asked, how many trees do you plant? And the answer is not zero, but almost zero. We don't need to plant trees. Nature does it for us. We practice selective cutting. We select the trees that are mature before they die. And when you take away this tree, it opens up the space. It allows the sun to reach the soil, and then all of the small trees fight to grow. And that enhances biodiversity and gives us healthy forests that animals need to live in. And the last piece of information I want to share with you is that all of the wood you'll see in this exhibition, they say, okay, the pieces of furniture are very beautiful. How many trees did you have to cut down to build them? That's not the question. The question is, how long does it take to replace this wood in the forest? Everything you'll see, well, and also counting in the waste, we're talking of 6.5 seconds is the time it takes for the wood that you see there to be replaced in the American forest. And when you talk of the life cycle, when you go in and see the exhibition, in a corner, you will see some pieces, and these 4 small pieces are negative in terms of CO2 emission. And the reason is simple, because they have less wood, so they have less carbon sequestration, so the manufacturing and transportation emits more CO2 emissions. So if we want to reduce CO2 emissions, we must think of wood. Thank you. So we can have a round of questions, perhaps, if there are any in the room. That was a fantastic lesson for me, what we've just heard from Mr. Snow. Are there any questions? I don't know if now that you've made this huge effort of looking for all of Enric's drawings and sketches to build these pieces of furniture, have you thought of maybe commercializing these pieces of furniture? I personally would love it if someone wants a copy, but they're not easy pieces of furniture to market. The most important table, the unstable table, which was Enric's favorite. There are several copies of people who've asked to reproduce this table. There are also some projects like in the Scottish Parliament where they have reproductions of these pieces of furniture. But these pieces of furniture aren't easy to market. They are unique pieces of furniture. And maybe now that they are more visible, there may be a possibility of producing some more copies and selling them, but they are very unique pieces of furniture. If there are no further questions, yeah, we could move to see the exhibition. Yes, but before we go and see the exhibition, I'd like to say that Enric was person who like painting his pieces of furniture. So you'll see a watercolor of Enric, and you will see this in the exhibition. So let's go and look at the exhibition. If everyone agrees, that would be great.